The idea of moving from the normal 8-hour day to a 10 or even a 12-hour day has been around for a very long time. And the idea of this workday, this extended workday, comes along typically in a business cycle, many times during when we're at a point where we have high employment issues and stuff like that, where we just don't have enough people to cover the thing. This will come and go. It fluctuates. In the contracting business, we're typically all expected to work more than the traditional 40 hours a week. Therefore, there's more than an 8-hour day. That's just the reality. The nature of most of our businesses is that we're deemed essential, which in our recent history here is a really good thing. And therefore, the work that we do is typically necessary and time critical. Drains overflowing, water cascading from a second floor bathroom down into your dining room, no heat on a 0-degree day, or no air conditioning on a 90+ degree day are all time sensitive and critical things. It's going to test you and your staff because there needs to be a responsiveness, and it's going to cause you to put in a very long day, and many times you're going to need to put that long day in day after day. So working hard is one thing, but there is a point where this long day becomes a diminishing return. Here are just 5 signs to tell when you're getting to the downside on that. Number 1, it's taking you longer to do the tasks that when you're fresh would be done a whole lot faster. An example, troubleshooting a job as a tech gets a lot harder as you wear down, and it takes you a lot longer to process things. Number 2 is mistakes are happening at an ever-increasing rate. Example, stupid callbacks from the techs are on the rise. Sometimes it's because they're rushing, or it's just because they're exhausted. This also happens in the office staff for working too long on data entry, let's say, or call taking. That will be a problem as well. Number 3, concentration is starting to wane. It's wandering, and off it goes. An example is people are working at their desk, but their mind is beginning to wander, and every task is taking longer and has the potential for more errors. People working in the field are ignoring sometimes potential safety issues, which is really dangerous, whereas a fresh mind would recognize these kinds of things. Number 4, your body is feeling more and more the fatigue that begins to set in. So an example is you can't sit at your desk any longer because the body is rebelling. Yes, a stand-up desk is a great idea that's come along, and that may help a little bit, but there is a crisis at work. Long hours sitting at a desk or sitting at all is a crisis. And it's a crisis also to those who work in the field. It's getting harder and harder to do the usual physical work that we as techs need to do. It starts to take a toll on our body. Number 5 is your patience is diminishing and your irritability is on the rise. An example is a CSR who's normally pretty good loses their patience with customers who they normally would be patient with. The techs are skipping steps when they're out there in the field or just not willing to listen to what the customer has to say where they normally would. All of which will undermine customer satisfaction and a good result. I felt all of the above happened to me personally when I worked at my own company. It was a plumbing HVAC company, and either as a tech or as a salesperson, or even when I was in the office helping to answer the phone or calling or dispatching. I've also seen it in my employees. When they get pressed to work long hours day after day, or these really long days that people talk about, as techs, their billable hour efficiency began to sink. Their callbacks went up. Call takers would rush and make mistakes, as would dispatchers. There comes a time when working too long, day after day, becomes a case of these diminishing returns, and even worse, a danger zone. The goal should always be work smarter, not harder. I'm sure you heard that. But it also ties into work smarter, not longer. Yes, you and the team do have to work longer hours at times. With things like rotating shifts to the day, though, you can make it better. Mandating multiple short breaks being taken throughout the day. Teaching the team to work efficiently and maximizing their systems so that they miss the mistakes and the front end issues that could be solved don't end up on the back end biting you. Leaning on these systems is what makes a difference. One myth I quickly dispel in my consulting work with clients is that you can't be fully staffed for your peak season or your busy time in that high demand. Because the reality is, if you had all of the staff you needed to handle that time, well, that means you're overstaffed every other time. The team itself needs to learn how to flex and flow, but also prioritize the work at hand and lean heavily on the systems you have to put in place. Even what is a set priority or things that I covered in the manual so that we all see it that way. Leveraging your ability to handle that workload is what makes the difference. At a C2000 meeting, which is today known as Nexstar, I asked a fellow contractor who had grown his company to 100 trucks what it's like. He smiled and he said, "You think there's a magic number where this will all be fixed? It's on any given day, here's what happens. I've either got 50 too many trucks or 50 not enough. That's why they call me a manager." It was one of the best things I ever heard. Not that I liked the idea, but because at that point I had this myth that if I only had this huge company, everything would be right. I had grown to 25 techs, thinking that 50 or 100 would make it work. It turned out the answer is no. The other good news is, once I got rid of chasing that idea, I did get serious about documented systems for all, training for all. That made a huge difference. The thing I talked before about rotating shifts. What it also did is make true what we preached, which is work smarter, not harder, but which again tied into work smarter, not longer.